Hi all, welcome back to the channel. Did you know that there are 7 ways that you can get internet into your home on wheels? I'm going to talk about each of the options and their pros and cons so you can decide which one is right for you. Take 59. So when we bought our first motorhome, we had absolutely no idea how getting internet in the motorhome would work. We didn't know whether we'd need any extra equipment. We didn't know how it'd work when we were in the EU. We just didn't know. So we did a whole load of research, and on top of all that research, we've now had 6 years on the road of actually practicing using the internet, working pretty much every day, working out what works best. And there are a surprising number of ways that you can get internet into your home on wheels. The first way is the most obvious and really simple, good old-fashioned phone. It's the easiest option, especially if you're travelling in the UK, because you just use it like you would do at home. You already have the data. Obviously you need to charge it, but that's fairly simple. They don't use a lot of power. You can use it to stream television. You can tether your laptop, your tablet, or other phones to it. And the chances are you already have one. So you've pretty much cracked the code there, really. You don't need any extra equipment. So the phone is not only convenient, you don't need any extra equipment. You can charge it while you're driving if you're sensible. It took us a little while to catch on to that. So we now have cables all over the cab. You can buy a little device that lets you stream directly from your phone to your television with a wire. So if you actually have a TV in your home on wheels, that's really handy. And you can add a VPN for privacy, and to also mean that you can watch the BBC and Channel 4 and things like that when you're abroad. Please forgive me, by the way, I am reading from notes here because there's a lot to remember. The downside with the phone is that you do need a SIM card for it. And that could be an eSIM card, it could be something that you buy locally, or you could use your data from your UK contract if you have one. But once you get out of the UK, using that data becomes harder because there are fair usage limitations. And I am going to do a separate video on SIM cards at some point in the not too distant future. If you're a long way from a mast, your signal might be weak, and when you're inside a van, that doesn't necessarily help. We've had times where we've had to prop our phones up on the window to get a signal, and that's frustrating if you're trying to work. And if there's more than one of you travelling, you're all going to want a SIM card, so that obviously just adds to the cost. So although the phone is a great option, you might want to do something a little bit more sophisticated, a little bit more technical to give you more options. So the next option, which is probably the most popular with most people that live in a home on wheels, is a MiFi device. And this is a small device that is about the size of a phone, a bit chunkier, but it doesn't have a screen. It can't take calls. Some of them can receive text, but it's a bit complicated because you have to go into an app to get them. You can always use WhatsApp or another messaging service if you use a MiFi device where you don't want to take calls on your regular phone number. They're small and compact. They use a single SIM card, which makes them really easy. And to that single SIM card in a MiFi device, you can add up to 20 devices. That would be an awful lot of people in a home on wheels, but you know, we both have laptops, we have phones, and we have iPads that we've been able to connect to a MiFi device. You can have it mounted inside your van and hardwired, and alongside that you can have an aerial that has antenna that will pick up a weak signal better than it would if you didn't have that, and that can all be put in a cupboard somewhere in your home on wheels. So that makes it a really neat option. The drawbacks are that some SIM cards just don't seem to work in MiFi devices. I don't really know why. We had a problem with a Superdrug SIM card. The MiFi device just wouldn't pick it up. You have to remember to take it with you when you go out, and I don't know how many times we've gone off for the day and forgotten it, which is really frustrating because then you have to rely on your 4G data, which can be expensive. Add-ons like aerials and mounts can be costly. The minute you put the word motorhome in front of this sort of stuff, it seems to go up in price. And you might want a professional to drill that hole in your roof because you don't want the rain coming in if it leaks. You can't add a VPN, so you'd still have to have a VPN on your phone if you wanted to watch television. And you can't use an eSIM, so you've lost that level of convenience. So if you were abroad, you'd probably have to go and buy a local SIM from somewhere. Next up is a dongle. This feels like old-fashioned technology, but it's still really popular, particularly with digital nomads, because it can just be plugged straight into the side of your laptop, and it charges from your laptop as well. Dongles come preloaded from companies like Vodafone or 3 UK terrestrial providers, but because of that, you do have the limitation of the fair usage policy again, which might, you know, after 2 months abroad, they become very difficult to use. And you can't tether to a phone or a TV from a dongle either. It wouldn't be our choice, but if you need it, if you need something that's convenient for work, and you want to just be able to use it with a laptop, then it's an excellent option. Next up are travel routers. Now these are a group of, they are like a regular router, but they come with additional features which make them work really well for when you're traveling. Avtex, Teleco, MLInet, Netgear, they all make a travel router, and the thing that distinguishes them and makes them travel friendly is that you can add a SIM card to them. So you could feasibly use one in your home as a router and then bring it away with you and add a SIM card to it as well. Most of them come with a USB charging cable and a regular cable to fit into a plug socket, so they're really handy to be able to swap between your home and your home on wheels. They tend to give you much faster speeds and a longer reach than you would get with a Wi-Fi as well. So some of these you can also have an antenna added for extra coverage, just like you can with a Wi-Fi. And you can add a server at VPN level, but you do have to know what you're doing with that, but it is possible to do. They can be expensive, certainly more expensive than a Wi-Fi device, upwards of £200 if you go for the really good stuff. And if you pick a motorhome brand like Avtex or Teleco, you're looking at maybe £300 to £400, which is a lot of money for something that you might not use permanently. And they do offer a lot of features that you might not want, lots of fancy stuff that you have absolutely no idea what it means. So it really depends on what your needs are and how techy you are, I suppose. Next up is a Wi-Fi booster. Now this isn't true internet, because it relies on you needing to pick up a Wi-Fi signal from another source, like when you're at a campsite. So if you're at a campsite and you get your Wi-Fi booster out, it will bring in the signal, it will strengthen it, and it will basically give you free internet. The drawback with a Wi-Fi booster is that you need to be somewhere where you can get access to that free signal, and the signal might be weak as it's being shared by lots of other people. I'm sure we've all been on campsites where at 6 p.m. the signal drops because everybody's trying to get online and download something to watch that evening, or, you know, check their emails or so on. So this wouldn't be a choice for us, but if you're a regular campsite user, then it could be a great option to get free Wi-Fi. Last, not almost last, but not quite, is a cloud SIM device. Now these are something like this, and this is from a company called Connect Plus, who we've been using. We use this to supplement our Starlink. There's another company called Glocal, they do a similar thing. Basically, it's like the size of a phone. You can connect up to 20 devices. It charges from a USB-C. You don't need a SIM card because it's got a cloud SIM card in there. I have no idea really what that means, but there's no SIM card in it. There's no contract. You can get unlimited monthly global and regional options. We really like this, and it's worked pretty flawlessly really since we've had it. The drawbacks are that you do need an address to receive this, so if you're on the road that could be difficult unless you can find a campsite or a drop box somewhere where it could be sent to. Again, you have to remember to take it out with you when you go, and you can't add a VPN, so you would still need that at the phone level to be able to get the television and so on. Now there is a bit of a plug for Connect Plus here. We use the code, we use them, and they give us a code, the Gap Decaders, at checkout, and you'll get 30% off on your first month. Give it a try, it seems to work really well. And the final option is satellite internet. So Oyster and Teleco, who do the television satellites on the top of vans, used to offer this, but they're moving away from that now, more to the travel router, down the travel router route, probably because Starlink has gobbled up the market. And one of the reasons is for Starlink to be so popular is their latency is very low, which means their speeds are very fast because their satellites are a lot closer to Earth than the traditional Oyster and Teleco satellites are. It's fine for television, not so great for internet. You can have a full-on system on the roof. The latest one is the Gen 3, which means you can have the dish can be flat and you still get full coverage. Or you can go with something like a Starlink Mini, which you can power from 12 volt and you can stick on your windscreen and get a great signal. I think Amazon might be doing something in the future as well. The positives of satellite internet are that you can get coverage even in the most remote of places. We're in the middle of the desert right now, and we've got, you know, really great speeds. And it works flawlessly, really. Generally the data is unlimited, so you pay a monthly fee and you can use as much as you like. As I've already said, low latency and fast speeds, and you can add a VPN at server level, although you do have to bypass a Starlink router to do that, but it's actually relatively easy. The drawbacks are that Starlink uses power over Ethernet and it can be quite power hungry. We've actually converted our Starlink to 12 volt to try and overcome that a little bit, and that seems to have worked quite well. Probably the biggest drawback is that last year the rules changed, where when you had the roaming package you could use it unlimited wherever you wanted for as long as you wanted. Now you can only roam for 2 months out of the country of registration before they cut you off. Having said that, that was in October, and we don't actually know anybody in Europe that's been cut off yet. We do know people that have been cut off in Morocco, so I think there's a lot of speculation about whether that rule might be a European-wide rule rather than a specific countries in Europe rule. That's what we're hoping anyway. And the other drawback really is that the initial setup and hardware is expensive. I think a dish and a router's now about £300, which is quite a lot of money if you can only use it for 2 months at a time. So we've used all of these different devices and methods, and they all work. They all work well. It just depends what you need, how often you're going to use it, how much you're going to use it, and what you're going to do with it. If you've got any questions, drop us a line. We're happy to give advice or offer suggestions. Please give us a like, a subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll see you next time when I'm going to be here talking about the best SIM cards for long-term travel in Europe. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye. So one thing I actually forgot to mention is that we do actually have a website, and there is a post on there called An Easy Guide to Motorhome Wi-Fi and Internet. I just updated it for 2025, and all the stuff I've been talking about you can find there, plus lots more information, tips, links to our recommended products, things that we've actually used and so we know that they work. You can find it all on the website. I'll put a link in the description for you so that you can hopefully find what you're looking for there.